Pleasant good afternoon, Miss. My group and I will be presenting on the topic interacting in teams and groups. The members of the group are Aisha Gabriel, Alicia Joshua, and Chantal Jofield. Pleasant good. At the end of this presentation, individuals should be able to clearly define and outline the characteristics of a group, comprehend the different mannerisms which are needed for groups to be formed, understand the dynamics among group members in order to emphasize how leadership in groups is processed, and detail the concept of teamwork and collaboration in groups and applications of the relational leadership model. To begin, one must understand what exactly is a group. In its simplest form, a group can be defined as two or more persons coming together and interacting with each other to achieve a common goal or objective. Now that you know the definition of a group, I will be explaining the difference between a formal and an informal group. Firstly, a group consists of clear structures, roles, and responsibilities for each group members, and it is found in a formal group setting. An example of a formal group may be schools, churches, hospitals, or civic organizations. Whereas an informal group consists of individuals voluntarily coming together to achieve a specific goal which is aimed at satisfying both personal and psychological needs. An example of an informal group may be a football club or a group of friends hanging out together. Now I will be explaining the three key dimensions, which are purpose, structure, and time, used to comprehend the different types of groups. Firstly, for groups, the purpose should lead to the different structures needed to assist individuals of a group to accomplish their goals and objectives. For structure, it refers to all the mannerisms needed for group members to relate and understand each other. And lastly, time explains the various time period groups may exist for, ranging from time-limited groups or meeting for a specific amount of extended time. In this slide, I'll be discussing Tuckerman's stages of group development. Bruce Tuckerman created the first 4 stages of the group development in 1965. He believed that in order for groups to be successful, they need to pass through all the necessary and inevitable phases, which makes them face up to their challenges, tackle problems, find solutions, and deliver results. This, however, does not happen automatically. It depends on the continuous joint efforts from group members. Tuckerman in 1977 developed the final stage in what we now know as the 5 stages of group development. These stages are the forming, storming, norming, performing, and lastly, adjourning. In the first stage, forming, individuals are now being recruited and introduced to each other, having casual conversations and open discussions. The basic ground rules, procedures, processes are outlined, and individual expectations are discussed. Furthermore, the basis of trust may be established in this phase. Here are some examples of group activities that can take place in this stage. Firstly, icebreakers are a great start. An example can be asking group members to tell the funniest jokes that they know or to detail an embarrassing moment in their life. In other situations, groups can create circles where they can introduce each other, or group members may walk around and personally introduce themselves to one another. In the second phase, storming, this is where things can get tricky. Conflict may arise within groups because of differing communication styles or working habits. Furthermore, individuals may find it difficult to see a common goal or objective. Cliques may be formed, and individuals may engage in self-assertion to get their needs recognized and addressed. In stage 3, norming, group members are able to move past their disagreements and build confidence within each other's strengths and values. Intimacy and identity is dealt with at this stage, and groups may be able to establish patterns and procedures for work to be able to be completed. In the 4th stage, performing, or also known as the mature stage, team members are able to build and excel at conflict resolution. There will be encouragement and enhancement in idea generation and all-round improvement in group creativity. At this point, productivity levels are increased. In Tuckerman's final stage, adjourning, there is a sense of mourning or sadness for exiting the group. The adjourning stage is noted as a time of celebration and reflection on the accomplishments and lessons learned during the process. Before we move on, in this slide, I would like to recap the relational leadership model. The relational leadership model emphasizes the relationships among people when leading an organization. It values inclusion, empowerment, purposefulness, ethical behaviors, and process orientation. In this slide, I will be connecting the relational leadership model with the stages of development. In the first stage, forming, relational leadership encourages inclusion and empowerment. In storming, the relational leadership encourages the creation of an environment where persons are valued and commitment can be built. In the norming stage, the relational leadership encourages equality in the process. And finally, for performing, the relational leadership encourages celebration of accomplishments and the renewal of relationships. The next subtopic that I will be discussing is group dynamics. Group dynamic deals with the attitudes and behavioral patterns of a group. For example, the group norms or group roles. Group dynamics also include processes which address how decisions are made in the group, for example, the different decision-making styles. And lastly, group dynamics include the manner in which conflict is dealt with and how leadership needs are met, referring to creative conflict and the leadership characteristics. Now I will be explaining what group roles are. One way to have a better comprehension of a group's dynamics is to realize that in any modern-day group, participants engage in communication patterns that identify the roles they have adopted in the respective groups. Meaning, over a period of time, participants communicate with one another, engage in different activities, and begin to build trust in each other. And this way, each individual develops a role in the group. Now, I'll be explaining the two types of roles that can happen in a group. Firstly, the group building role. This refers to the actions that focus on the group as a whole, including member relations. It attends to group processes and commonly referred to as group maintenance roles. Whereas task roles, these roles focuses on the content of group discussions, as well as accomplishing the purpose of the group. Another way to look at this is that group building roles can be seen as roles used for upliftment of each group member and to bring about positivity within the group. However, for task roles, this can be seen as a set of roles keeping each group member focused on achieving the group goals and objectives. Now I will be In this slide, we'll be looking at examples of group building roles or group maintenance roles. Firstly, the gatekeeper. This individual invites others who have yet to or made attempts to voice their opinions in a conversation. Then we have the encourager. This individual welcomes everyone as well as distinct ideas. They promote inclusion and empowerment of others. This person makes people feel safe enough to voice their opinion, and everyone in the group are able to have an opinion because of this. Then we have the mediator. This individual maintains a sense of peace and harmony by addressing matters that may lead to conflict within a group. And lastly, we have the follower. This individual is an active learner that supports the group's actions and decisions willingly. Now we will be looking at examples of task roles. Firstly, information seeker. This individual seeks further information or facts before the group may proceed. Then we have the opinion seeker. This individual seeks additional insight or opinions before the group can proceed. We have the opinion giver. This individual shares their opinion so that the group may benefit from it. We have the summarizer. This individual condenses the nature of the opinion discussion in a capsule format for clarity, leading to the clarifier. This individual explains ideas and new words to add meaning. In this slide, we'll be looking at individuals or persons in a group that may occasionally hamper the progress of a group. These individuals can fall into two categories: the special interest pleader or the blocker. The special interest pleader refers to an individual that continuously pushes for their opinions to be acknowledged, even if the group is ready to move on. And then we have the blocker. This refers to an individual who purposely hampers the progress of the group by exhibiting negativity and disagreement towards group decisions. In this slide, we'll be looking at group norms. Group norms in its simplest form are informal rules that groups adopt to regulate and regularize the group's behavior. It contributes to the group's personality. An example of this can be the group celebrating group members' birthdays or celebrating the achievements of each other in the group. Another example can be when the group uses humor often to keep the spirit of the group up. And lastly, an example can be when the group begins 10 minutes late to allow for casual discussion among group members. Now we will look at creative conflict in group dynamics. The term conflict may refer to any disagreement among parties owing to the differences in thought process, attitudes, understanding, interests, and perceptions. Such differences should be handled with civility and open dialogue. Unresolved conflict, though destructive in nature, can be an effective method for improving a group's outcome. A real-life example of this can be where Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant, both players for the Lakers, there were tensions between the two of them throughout the years. Many coaches saw this as a distraction. However, when the Lakers hired Phil Jackson, he saw this as an opportunity. O'Neal being the powerhouse of the team while Bryant was the fastest player on the team, the coach created a team surrounding the player's strength. Jackson took the tension between the two players and saw it as a source of creative energy. Jackson saw how O'Neal and Bryant's different approaches complemented each other, challenged and enhanced results between the players. The team went on to win 3 NBA championships in a row.
Disadvantages of conflict. Now, when a conflict occurs in a group, it is often important that members talk about the issues that occur in the group or whatever they have a problem with, so that together as a group everyone can come to an understanding, or maybe find some method that they could work forward to ensure that the group is successful. By addressing these conflicts, it can allow for there to be new ideas amongst the group, and as well as it can increase their motivation and the awareness that they have towards each member of the group. So now we're moving on to the disadvantages of conflict. Now, when a conflict arrives in a group, oftentimes members of the group will try to come up with a solution for the conflict. However, it's not always the case that the conflict are being solved, as some members of the group might not want to resolve the conflict, or the effort that some people may take in order to come up with a solution for the conflict may not be met with other members of the group. If someone feels like their conflict is not, or their issue is not being heard about enough, they tend to become on the defense. They tend to become defensive, which can cause a lot of more issues in a group, which at the end would cause the group not to achieve the purpose that group had been created for. Relational leadership model and creative conflict. This leadership model suggests that conflict is unavoidable. However, there should be procedures that are put in place to handle such conflict that arises, so that the members of the group can be empowered. Now, if you are expecting that there would be differences of opinions in groups, or the members might have different opinion from other members of the group, then there can be rules that are put in place to address these sort of instances, right? These rules would help have a more stable environment, where there will be one of less the environment will be less hostile, and it would be easy for different members of the group to have their opinion heard without facing any oppression from other members of the group. Who is responsible for decision making in a group? Usually, the leader of the group would be responsible for making decisions within the group. However, there are certain instances where the leader would need to make a decision, as there is not enough time to consult with other members. This would be in a situation such as the leader will be presenting about the group, or whatever their purpose for that group is, in front of, for example, say the CEO. But then the CEO needs something from the group, and because the rest of members isn't there, it's up to the leader to decide whether or not to say yes to it, or to say no. And the leader needs to ask himself, if before taking this decision, is if this decision would support the vision and the mission of the group. What would the members think about it, about this issue? Is it the correct thing to do, or if he should postpone the decision making, or if he should postpone making decisions so that other members can have an input. UP 1989 suggests that the group decision-making procedures be autocratic, consultation, joint decision, delegation of participant. Johnson & Johnson 1994 suggests that group decision-making procedures be decision by authority without discussion, expert member, average member's opinion, decision by authority after the discussion has taken place, and majority control. Moving on, now we'll speak about consensus. According to Rayner 1996, consensus does not mean that everyone believes that the best decision has been derived, but rather that no one is violated professionally and support will be given to the implementation of the decision. Consensus brings about the highest commitment among participants in the group. And if members of the team fail to meet the consensus, it's usually because there was not enough time given to members to discuss the perspectives on certain issues or certain topics that will be covered, or because conflict has occurred and the members of the group are no longer trusting each other. Now, there are guidelines that Rayner had suggested that we use in order to achieve consensus within a group. And they are as listed. Number 1, clearly define the issue that is facing the team. Number 2, focus on the similarities between the positions. Number 3, ensure that there are enough time to discuss whatever needs to be discussed among the group, like, for example, the issue or whatnot. Number 4, avoid conflict reducing tendencies. Now, we'll be moving on to teamwork. What is a team? Well, the definition of a team is a group of people who work together towards a common goal. Teams have defined membership and a set of activities to take part in. People on a team collaborate on a set of related tasks that are required in order to achieve an objective. Each member is responsible for contributing to the team, but the group as a whole is responsible for the team's success. What this means is that each member has a part to play in order to ensure that the team is successful. But in order to do this, we all need to work as a team to ensure that everything runs smoothly. Now I am going to be talking about teams versus groups. In teams, the team has shared leadership responsibilities, meaning that they all share the responsibilities in that team. However, with groups, they elect a strong, clearly focused person as a leader. Teams have a specific and well-defined purpose that is unique specifically to that team. However, with a group, the general organizational mission is what the purpose of the group entails. Effectiveness is measured directly by assessing what the team has done through teamwork. However, for group, the effectiveness is measured indirectly by the group's influence on others. For team, individual accountability only is evident. But for group, both team and individual accountability are evident. I am now going to be discussing types of teams. Functional teams. This team resembles hierarchical structure whereby the power is contained at the utmost top. Self-directed teams. In these teams, group members possess the necessary temperaments that is needed in order to accomplish a task, and certain levels of power is delegated to them from the leader. Cross-functional teams. In these teams, comprises of individuals from a variety of skill sets, departmental areas that combine their skill set that no one person possess. I am now going to be discussing the SMART rubric. It is recommended that teams have clear goals in order to achieve success. The undermentioned rubric provides a framework that teams can use in order to achieve success. Specific. Now, this means that the goal must be clear to everyone in the team. Measurable. It means that it must be quantifiable. Attainable. This means the goal must be realistic, and it must be that this goal can be achieved by the team members. Relevant. The goal must be aligned with the direction of the enterprise and its overall strategy. And time-bound, where a time frame must be outlined as to when this goal should be achieved. Now I'm going to be discussing the critical factors for a team's success. Number 1. The members of the team must be sensitive and responsive to all consideration of the other members of the team in the design of the project. Number 2. You must focus on the team members' strength. Number 3. You must have frequent and open communication with other members of the group, meaning that you should keep in contact with each other as a way to ensure that everything is running smoothly. Number 4, develop a sense of trust amongst all team members. The members must be able to trust other members of the group so they can be able to talk freely and discuss their issues and whatnot freely. And number 5, use a bit of humor when discussion gets tense to alleviate the pressure. Now moving on to team learning. Team learning occurs in dialogue with each other and through reflection on shared experiences. This means that the members learn about each other through talking with each other and reflecting on the shared experience they had throughout the group. When a team is in dialogue, the participants are aware of the process of their communication as well as their content. Dialogue and discussion are two slightly different processes. Dialogues include the tone of voice, laughter, pauses, and difficulty in finding the right words and the amount of discussion that is required to come to some meaning. Leadership implications. Now, there are implications when it comes to leadership under teamwork. Some of the implications are the servers and supporters, the partners and providers. There can be implication in leadership when there are shared responsibilities amongst the different members of the team. Team facilitators can also cause implications in the leadership. And there can also be an implication when it comes to understanding success and failure in the activities that have been taking place in the group. Team leadership. There are two critical functions of leadership, and they are team development and team performance. Now, team development includes establishing effective relationships, creating an environment that makes the team members feel valued, and facilitating cohesion within the team. Number 2, team performance. This refers to accomplishing the goals set by the group, making decisions and plans in order to achieve said goals, achieving the results that the group wanted, and also resolving the issues that may have arisen within working in the team. The relational leadership model also underscores the importance of both of these functions by placing emphasis on the process orientation and purpose. There are some characteristics to having team leadership. They are clear, elevating goals. Team leadership can have a result-driven structure. It can produce competent team members, have unified commitment towards the group, have a collaborative climate, and set standards of excellence towards the group. Components for team establishment. Hughes, Jeanette, and Curfey, 1993, provided 4 design components in order to establish team. Number 1, task structure. This is where the team understands its task, find the meaning in it, and is given power to complete the task. Group boundary. The size of the team is adequate. Diversity exists within the group, and the team has sufficient knowledge, information, and intrapersonal skills in order to accomplish the goals set out. Norms. This is where the team has a set of norms to guide the behavior of its members. Authority. This is where there is a flexible use of authority by the leader and team members that would allow for open debate and provide a sense of empowerment and trust, and as well as a degree of command for when it's absolutely necessary. Now, this is the references that my group and I had used in order to obtain our information. So, we have come to the end of our presentation, and I hope that our presentation was helpful in helping you understand more about this topic, or rather this chapter. And don't forget to do your forum questions and activities, and we hope you have fun doing them. Take care and be safe, everyone.